welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as yours, but hey, it's something. Now, before we get into the main topic or the news stories, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. And the bit of housekeeping is just a quick update on the status of the next video, which will, again, it's not going to be, next video is not going to be released this Thursday or next Thursday. It will instead be released on the Thursday after that. It's going along really nice. In fact, it's actually, the editing process has actually been relatively easy to an extent. Guess because I've been trying to basically keep that to be the primary focus, since I don't have to worry about one video and then this video. The one thing I'm really hoping that doesn't happen is that I'm hoping, I guess I'll just knock on wood, hopefully this doesn't happen, but I'm very much hoping that this doesn't screw up to an extent where it's it just has problems exporting because of the file size or something like that. I'm just hoping that something like that does not happen. Probably another reason why I've been editing that one for basically the entirety of this month, because that way, if let's say I finish it by next, let's say I finish the all that stuff by next week and then exporting it, and then I find out the problem, I still got another week to figure out what the fuck to do. But the only thing is just because file size, and I guess just computer, it was just slightly there's always the occasional sometimes where whatever, but I'm pretty sure it'll be fine. If it somehow does not turn out to be fine, then oh boy, it'll be crash out time, my boys. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's get right into the news. First news story is actually a very interesting one. Mexico arrests a new suspect in 1994 assassination of a presidential candidate. Federal prosecutors in Mexico arrested another alleged accomplice in the 1994 assassination of presidential candidate Luis Donaldo Colosio, a crime that shocked the country and remains unsolved, even though the confessed killer has been imprisoned for more than 30 years. A federal official who requested anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly confirmed Monday to the Associated Press that Jorge Antonio Sanchez Ortega was arrested in Tijuana in connection with Colosio's assassination. The official did not specify the charges against Sanchez Ortega, who is being held in a maximum security prison in central Mexico awaiting trial. Now, to Americans, you might not necessarily know why this is important. I think if you've watched the show Narcos, you probably know why this is important. But for those who don't know about any of those things, I haven't seen Narcos Mexico either. I probably should at one point. But anyways, for a massive TLDR, this is basically the Mexican Kennedy assassination. This is basically what it is. Basically, Luis Donaldo Colosio was a guy who ran as the candidate for the pre-party. And during the 1994 election, there was a huge debacle. The Zapatista uprising was happening in Mexico at the time. And a lot of that was caused by the concerns with NAFTA. And Luis Donaldo Colosio, he originally kind of in Mexico, the pre used to have the process called El Dedazo, where literally they just point to the person that they choose to be the nominee. And in order to do that, you basically have to kiss up to all the people who were in charge of the party at the time. So Luis Donaldo Colosio basically started just doing that. But then he basically, as soon as he became the nominee, he started shifting his rhetoric style to be a bit more associated with, not necessarily associated with the Zapatistas, but to be somewhat conciliatory, because of the pre's massive ideological shifts over the course of its long lifetime. At one point it used to be borderline socialist, and then at that point it was neoliberal capitalist. So it was in that this was in the stage where they were kind of starting to shift. They were shifting their strategy to an extent. It was very weird. It was until 1988 where they touted the legacies of all the pre-presidents, including Cárdenas. But then when Cuauhtémoc Cárdenas left the party and then did his whole thing, it started to form the PRD. He was that's basically when it started shifting the rhetoric to be okay, we gotta change the style and shift the rhetoric. That was actually the point where originally they hated Plutarco Elías Calles because of his extreme Maximano hatred, but then after that they basically shifted to start sympathizing with Calles because Calles and Cárdenas did not see eye to eye on a lot of issues. And basically, due to these things, it was announced the president at the time basically said, hey, I want to replace Colosio with a new candidate. And then they couldn't. So then, coincidentally, Luis Donaldo Colosio gets assassinated. And sure enough, he gets replaced with a candidate that's a lot more conciliatory with what the mainstream pre wanted at the time. Which led to the big theories, why did that happen? well, how did this happen? Like, what was going on? And while of course, and while I'm not necessarily like into like the JFK conspiracy theory stuff, because like a lot of that stuff is just kind of BS, the Colosio stuff has a bit more credence to it. Let's say. I mean, do I believe it? Maybe, but I mean, the merit on the Colosio one has more merit than the JFK stuff, because like the JFK assassination, basically every single thing that people say about like JFK is just like not true. Like, it's just abundantly not true. But the stuff they say about Colosio is true to an extent. I don't know how far that is, because like there could be to an extent where people think that Colosio is like way more radical than he is. I'm not necessarily sure if that's true. In a similar way, that is similar to Kennedy. Like, people perceive Kennedy and Colosio to be a bit more radical than they actually were, because they just had the slightest critiques about how their parties and their mainstream political like discourse was. And one of the main reasons why why people don't necessarily believe the official narrative in this specific issue is because it's because of like there were a couple of strange things with like Alberto, the guy who allegedly did it. And it's like, one is that he was arrested, but then as soon as he was arrested, he was immediately like shaved and like showered and like all this stuff. Like, he was immediately like put into like the Mexican prison garb, you know, like how when they go to like prisons or like the army, people like do like they buzz cut them. But like he was done that immediately, so it was like he didn't look like the guy on the video of Colosio's assassination. So it's like people are like, is that really him? And then Alberto, of course, later reneged and said like, I was tortured into giving a false confession, which is like, that is possible, but it's the same way. But like, of course, like the weird thing was like sometimes people who like, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's just, hopefully we just get some answers on this question, because this is a question that I think we should get answered. Speaking of questions and answers, Israel has answered the question about whether or not they are a actual legitimate country or stupid, and they have passed the first reading, which I guess would be like pushing it through the quorum or whatever. Like you know how the U.S. Congress, they have the vote to like put the bill up for an actual vote. I think this is basically what this is, and they passed a bill proposing the death penalty for people that it deems terrorists. Israel's parliament has passed the first reading of a bill proposing the death penalty for those it deems to be terrorists acting against the state. Now, this article makes the claim that a requirement, which means that it is likely to be used only against Palestinians convicted of deadly attacks against the state, but that's not true. That's not what it says. As this says, like, it will propose the death penalty for those it deems to be terrorists acting against the state. And in Israel, the very act of being an anti-Zionist is being against the state. And literally all the people of Hadash Tal have been accused of being terrorists. So when we're in the situation where they also believe that like a Palestinian child with a rock is literally a terrorist, you know, shock of all shocks, I don't necessarily think I could trust these guys to be fair when it comes to these alleged terrorism allegations. Much in the same way how in America, it's like, we're going to propose the death penalty for people we think are pedophiles. And it's like, but you've also claimed that every single gay person's a pedophile. So, like, it's pretty clear what you're trying to do. Apparently, in that same session, it also approved a bill that would ban foreign media from being in the country. Which basically, essentially is a bill to criminalize Al Jazeera. And just to throw a little bit of another wrench in the field, according to this, it says far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, whose Jewish Power Party brought the vote, celebrated late on Monday by handing out sweets. After the law is finally passed, terrorists will only be released to hell, he said. A very odd sentiment, because Jews don't believe in hell. At least not in the traditional sense. Like, in most, like, in certain religions, you know, especially Christianity, hell is perceived to be like, you know, the bad people go there to get punished. But there is, like, technically a thing that is not necessarily similar to hell, but it's actually, like, a nice thing. Like, I read a fucking site that was like, Dear Rabbi, do Jews believe in hell? And he's like, well, there is a thing in Judaism which, while technically a lot of people translate it as hell, it basically should be more accurately described as spiritual washing machine, because it's basically like you go there and your spirit gets cleansed and then you go to the happy place. It's like, okay, because yeah, a shocker. These religious people don't understand their own fucking religion. What a shocker. But anyways, let's move on to the next story, because there's not much else for me to say on that. this next news story I also don't have much to say because it's just fucking weird, but it just shows ultimately how unserious this administration is when it comes to their one main thing that they claim they gave a shit about, the deportation issue. And it revolves around one of the two famous people that got famous for their shocking deportation, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who, for those who don't remember, was illegally deported to El Salvador and sent to an El Salvadorian prison. He has, of course, successfully challenged that, and now he's back in the country. But for some reason, the US government is claiming that they're going to send him away again. But not just that, they're sending him to Liberia. Let's hear that again. For some reason, they're deporting Kilmar Garcia to Liberia. Like, this makes no sense. He was not born in Liberia. He's not remotely close to Liberia at any point whatsoever. So there's no reason to send. You can't deport someone to a country they aren't from. Like, I thought that was how it worked. But of course, like Trumpsters have been saying basically repeatedly, like they don't care. Like it's like, but this person immigrated here legally. It's like, no, they don't care. This person's a citizen. No, they don't care. Like they just don't fucking care. This whole situation is just they just don't care. It's the same thing with like all the time that they illegally detain civilians because they've done that like to many citizens over and over again. They've illegally detained them and tried to keep them held. And it also goes against Abrego Garcia's wishes because he said like he basically said that if he were to be deported, deport him to Costa Rica. Like, but of course they're not listening to that. They're not sending him to the country that he's from. Like, I mean, like send him to like the actual like country. Don't send him to like the fucking like 15 million like max security prison started by the fucking Hitler admirer. Like, for real, this is just like, it's just so abundantly clear they don't fucking give a shit about the rule of law and they don't fucking give a shit about like anything. This is all purely just racism and all purely just like stupid nonsense. Much in the same way how this next news story is also just more bullshit nonsense. Border Patrol and ICE agents are heading towards North Carolina. And oh boy, CNN is citing 3 U.S. officials familiar with the planning, and it says that currently their target is Charlotte. Gee, I wonder why they want to target Charlotte so much. Man, this would be so depressing if that Ukrainian girl was still alive, because she'd probably be the one, she'd probably get deported. Well, I mean, she probably wouldn't because she's white, they don't give a shit about the white ones. And then they're going to continue to New Orleans. These Border Patrol agents seem to have a really hard time actually finding the border. Here's a tip, you go downer, guys, downer. Like, first they went to Chicago. It's like, nah, silly guys. The border with Mexico's not up there. The border with Mexico's not over here either. You gotta go downer. Guys. But, of course, we all know the real reason why they're doing this. It's just it's just jingling keys for the Republican base to get distracted. Hey, Donald, you ran on affordability, and yet all the prices are rising. Immigrant, brown people, brown. Hey, Donald, you promised that you'd be, shifting the money away from, like, protecting foreign, like, businesses and stuff, like, foreign countries, and going back to us. Yet you gave, like, $2 billion, like, $200 billion, $400 billion to Argentina. What the heck happened there? Immigrant, brown people, brown. Hey, Donald, you said that you were going to run on the peace cam. You were running as a peace candidate, and yet you're trying to bring us into war with Venezuela. Immigrant, brown people, brown. But of course, the very obvious 100% thing he's been trying to distract from, that's just not going away. It's just not going away. And it's the fact that Donald Trump is 100% a pedophile. He is 100% a pedophile. He is 100% fucked. It is fact. It is a fact. At this point, it is confirmed. Basically, without a shadow of a doubt, Donald Trump is a pedophile who fucked children given to him by Jeffrey Epstein. That is all basically been confirmed. Granted, we all already knew that, but like this is just like the most biggest, obvious, without a shadow of a doubt, confirmation. Because there's literally like the biggest, like the House finally reconvened because the shutdown ended, shock about shocks, like Schumer shut down and he failed, whatever. But like, everyone's back. Adelita Grijalva signed the petition, And now they're actually going to move forward with possibly releasing the Epstein files. And some of the information is starting to come out. And one of the big things that has came out is the fact that there's like over like 2,000 email, like 2,000, I think it was like, the number was like 2,333 emails regarding Jeffrey Epstein. And in like half of them, they mentioned Donald Trump by name. And again, much like most of the other information released about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein's relationship, it is very obvious, 100% without a shadow of a doubt, that he did it. 100% without a shadow of a doubt. The biggest one that has been brought out was like literally, these are some key points that it says here. Like, one, it says, Jeffrey Epstein said, "I know how dirty Donald is." Stated, "The only dog that hasn't barked is Trump." Stated that there was an explicit victim, like a victim that the Democrats know, like, that has, quote unquote, spent hours at Epstein's house with Trump, and Epstein say 100% without a shadow of a doubt, Trump knew about the girls. Like, dude, I thought with the shutdown, they were going to try and fucking hide it. But no, it's just truth. They are actually, it's just unabashedly confirmed that Donald Trump fucked children. It's just without a shadow of a doubt, that is what happened. And apparently, like, there's like a ton more emails that are a bit more damning. Like, you know, apparently one of them, at one point, one of the emails was pointing out the fact that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were apparently talking with each other as late as 2017, which I'm pretty sure I already knew, but like literally I mentioned that, like, Trump and Epstein's relationship prior only ended after he got caught the second time. That's what happened. Like, he got arrested, and then Donald Trump said, like, "Oh, me and him, like, broke, like, we cut a relationship off from each other." But, like, it was very heavily stated, like, it was very recently that he cut the relations with him. And apparently, Stacey Plaskett, who is apparently representative in the U.S. House for the Virgin Islands, apparently she was in coordination, she was talking with Epstein, too. Like, apparently, he was actually talking to her about the impeachment trial, and he was actually even giving her, like, questions to ask at the impeachment trial. There's even one email where, I shit you not, they imply that Donald Trump gave Bill Clinton a blowjob. Now, I think one person tried to say, like, "Oh, well, he's not talking about Bill Clinton," but it's like, no, he is, because he calls him by his nickname, Bubba, and in the emails, the only other times he mentions the name Bubba is when he's referring to Bill Clinton. And, oh my fucking god, it is so surreal that in the actual, literal, real world of 2025, it's just unabashedly confirmed that Donald Trump is a child molester. Especially odd because this was already well known. Donald Trump's first scandal during the 2016 presidential campaign was when he was literally talking sexual about 12-year-old girls. And similar to what I said last week, like, the cracks are really forming because there are so many people, because there are literally so many people, like, the MAGA movement, the conservative movement, literally just doesn't know what to do. Like, because the real honest answer of what they should do is that they should all abandon Donald Trump, say that Donald Trump is bad, do everything in their power to make sure that Donald Trump gets held accountable for his crimes, like, openly endorse an impeachment trial. That would be the correct thing to do, but they're not going to do that. Because they still can't even admit certain things. First of all, we have the divide in the conservative and the MAGA movement. Some MAGA people are just open, this was bound to happen. A lot of people in the MAGA movement are openly just endorsing pedophilia. Like, just unabashedly. Like, Megyn Kelly point blank said, like, she basically just pulled that line. I'm not going to say that line, but, like, you know the line I'm talking about where it's like, it's technically not that. It's actually technically this. Like, you know that line. Man, I guess the Libertarian Party did manage to actually influence the Trump administration. Jesse Waters, when he was covering the story, basically said, like, it's funny that the Democrats are trying to pretend they're all for affordability, and yet all they want to talk about are these old emails. It's like, yeah, the old emails that said that Donald Trump, the man that you endorsed and backed, is a pedophile who fucked children. Some conservatives are trying to shift the goalpost on this issue, you know, being like, but Bill Clinton, but Bill Gates, but Stacey Plaskett. It's like, and I don't give a fuck about any of these people. There are many reasons why these are completely different things. One, Bill Clinton is not the president of the United States. Bill Gates is not the president of the United States, and Stacey Plaskett's not the president of the United States. But also, again, I don't give, like, nobody, like, you guys really are fucking brain dead idiots, aren't you? Who gives a shit about Bill Clinton? I don't care about him. Stacey Plaskett is literally just sitting there in Congress taking a paycheck. She can't do anything. You think I give a shit about Stacey Plaskett of any single member of Congress? She's a fucking new dem. And Bill Gates is a billionaire, and, you know, surprisingly, the socialists don't like the billionaires. Also, funnily enough, interestingly enough, no socialist has really ever been associated with Epstein. I think, like, literally, I think only one person who's even remotely a socialist has been associated with Epstein. That was because Noam Chomsky worked for MIT, and he donated a lot of money to MIT, and, you know, Noam Chomsky, I guess Noam Chomsky was just kind of cringe, you know, whatever. Fuck Chomsky, I don't give a fuck about that guy anyways. I'm just saying, know who's not on that list? AOC, know who's not on that list? Bernie Sanders, know who's not on that list. Graham Plattner, know who's not on that list. Sahar Mamdani, you know, all these people, magically, they don't get to be invited to the fucking, like, parties. They don't get to be invited with the investment bankers, because this is the thing. Like, people point out, like, there are two things about the Epstein case you gotta realize. Like, which is another thing that Republicans have tried to pounce on. It's like, if this information was so damning, why did the Democrats reveal it beforehand? It's like, you know, guys. They were doing this thing called the investigation. That was the whole point of keeping the files behind locked doors, so that they could investigate it and figure out who was there for business A and who was there for business B. Because Jeffrey Epstein ran two businesses. He was an investment banker, and then he had his little side gig. There are going to be a decent amount of people in the Epstein files. Like, I don't know how many of them, but there are going to be a decent number of them who legitimately did not know what was going on. And the whole point was to investigate and find the information to figure out who was there for business A and who was there for business B. And one of the first things that was the thing that was released that showed, like, the logbook, where Jeffrey Epstein underlined some people's names and put a star next to other people's names. And then for some people, did it for both. Did both an underline and a star. And conveniently, who was one of the people that had an underline and a star? Donald John Trump. That was literally the point. And that 100% unequivocally disproves the notion that it was like a biased, like Justice Department or like whatever, like, oh, the Biden administration was trying to get Trump. It's like, if they wanted to get Trump, they would have just said, like, oh, he's in the files and we're not going to do any trial for him. Goodbye. Like, guys, yeah, I am more serious on this fucking Epstein list issue than you all are, because I think that the people who were there for the legitimate business, like the banking, they should go to jail too. They should go to jail. The way the banking and monetary system works in the United States and in the world is in and of itself a fucking crime. Like, in my view, the way they do that is a fucking crime, and that should lead them to go to jail too. Which is conveniently, again, why the socialists don't get invited to those investment banker parties. So they don't even get to be invited in the room to possibly hear about the side business. Meanwhile, all your heroes and all your people that you suck off every day, they go there because ultimately they believe that the system that exists now, when it comes to the banking system, when it comes to the monetary system, when it comes to all that, they believe that those should be maintained, and those systems maintain the dark underbelly of things. And things have gotten so bad that literally it's like almost officially like the severing is fully almost. I think the severing has truly begun. Like, I mean, because really, ultimately, like, I'll just say this: like, Donald Trump has officially pulled his endorsement of Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's how bad it's gotten. Now, before anybody starts clapping that Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing the quote-unquote right thing, she is still in the belief system that Donald Trump is innocent. I saw she released text messages that she and Donald Trump sent to each other, and she and someone else, I guess, associated with them, were that she literally still believes that Donald Trump is innocent. That's what she believes, that Donald Trump's innocent. Or at the very least, those texts indicate that she at least believed that. I don't know if she's changed her tune by now. And that's the thing, a lot of MAGA voters are never going to admit the fact that they are just fucking duped by a dirty, disgusting pedophile. They'll never admit that. And they have two options now. They either have to just full-on embrace it, or I guess, what's it called? What's the term that they tried to do? Quiet quit. And this is the thing. This could be the thing that fully ends Trumpism and MAGA movement. Because, like, really, it just, at this point, The figurehead is down. The figurehead has been exposed. The emperor has no clothes. Again, they are left with two roads in front of them. Either accept that they were duped by a pedophile, or force them to basically drop any instance of them liking Trump. Like, I mean, look, ideologically, they're probably still going to keep a lot of the same stuff, but like, at least with the Trumpism movement itself, it'll probably be done. And as I stated earlier, if people want to be 100% serious, they actually could, at this point, actually do something to fully end Trumpism by actually impeaching him for the obvious crimes that he has committed and the obvious cover-up he's been trying to do. But they're probably in too deep, so they can't really do that. So yeah, just to be 100% clear, Donald Trump is a pedophile. If you have endorsed him in the past, you basically only have two options. You either just admit you're wrong and you were duped by the dirty, disgusting pedophile, or you yourself are a dirty, disgusting pedophile. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's move on to the main topic of this video. This episode was originally going to be a video podcast that was a bit more negative, just, it was going to do this typical thing that I've done a bit in the past, and I will continue to do in the future, and shit on a certain subsection of leftists again. But while writing the notes to make this podcast, I kind of figured that maybe it's better if I changed it up, maybe instead of trying to focus a bit more on the negative, maybe focus on a bit more of the positive, because as it is known for basically anything in regards to anything, it's easier to criticize, it's easy to tear down, but it's not so easy to build. When it comes to media criticism, it's very easy to say, this movie sucks, this show sucks, this video game sucks. But it's harder to say, here's what they should have done instead. Here's a better idea that they could have done instead, or whatever. And the same thing with politics. It's easy to say, this politician sucks, this political movement sucks, this political organization party sucks. But it's a lot harder to actually say, here's what we should do instead. Here's what we should do instead. Or here's a better idea. And I know that I'm not necessarily going to be the best person to say any of this stuff, but I'm just saying, better to try and be a little bit more constructive than negative. But before we get into that, I will still start with the negativity, because we got to do this. The negativity, we have to acknowledge the negativity. We have to acknowledge this before we can try to fix this. We got to acknowledge that there's a problem before we actually try to figure out a solution. And the first thing I'll say is, what faction or what segment of the left am I referring to? Which I've referred to it a lot. And again, it's a little hard to give these guys names. It's a little hard to give these guys a specific label. But broadly, it comes to mean people who claim to be on the ideological left, but they claim that they are too leftier than thou to support the mainstream left-wing party or group. Now, that in and of itself is not inherently a bad thing, per se, but the thing is, rather than these people doing anything to build an alternative to them, or focus their attacks on the actual enemies, they instead focus all their attention on attacking said big-name lefties. Nowadays, these are the people that would say, hashtag fraud squad, that kind of stuff. People who I don't want to necessarily name names. I guess I can. I will name one of them in the bed. But my point is, it's these are the people who spend all their time, rather than spending their time focusing on the actual enemies, the actual people we should be fighting against, they're instead worried about AOC or Bernie or other big name lefties, like Hassan Piker or whatever. They're more concerned about them than they are about Donald Trump, or they are concerned with, whatever. And sometimes they're very unclear. I guess I'll just admit it. I'll just say it. Bad Banana is one of them. Bad Banana for literally just unequivocally says, haha, it's funny that Americans are getting fucked over because of Donald Trump, and they're not going to do anything about it. And is spending all this time Graham Plattner. Graham Plattner is not the problem with the United States, you fucking cretin. You want to cosplay as some, revolutionary, you're not going to do shit about it. I made a meme specifically talking about these people, specifically the ones in, the communist sphere, the ones who LARP as, a revolutionary, and they don't do anything about it. I made a meme a long time ago, and I might put it in this video, I might not put it in this video, but...
Oh, hey, Frank, what's up? How you doing?
Here's the gun.
What?
Here's the
Revolutionary Declaration.
Let's fucking do it. It's time.
You gonna put this on me?
it's a sentiment that I 100% truly believe. Like, if you genuinely are like if you genuinely like electoralism is not the route we have to go. Because like Banana even goes so far as like he makes the meme where he's like he says, "I know what we're supposed to do, but I can't say it on YouTube." Like he says that, and it's just like, well, then if that's what you think needs to be done, why are you sitting there making stupid fucking essays on YouTube? Take the plunge. Like, I mean, like there are people who've thought that in the past, and they didn't like billy around like, oh, well, maybe. No. They did it. They just fucking did it. Like, literally, they just won't do anything. And even in their, like, quote-unquote, I guess, moderate stance, they wouldn't even do that. Like, Banana has been saying, like, multiple times, like, there are other left-wing parties in America. Though they're not. Basically, there isn't. Like, I mean, they exist, but, like, again, they have no viability. You have to actually build them to be viable. We don't have time to be viable. Like, I thought you guys wanted the Palestinian genocide to end. Sorry, guys. Silly me. I wanted the Palestinian genocide to end, like, today. I don't want it to end in, like, 10 years. I want it to end, like, today. I mean, I guess we gotta waste, like, 10 years to build that third-party infrastructure at some point in the future. Hopefully the Palestinians are still around by then, because once we build that third-party infrastructure, oh boy. Just you wait, my friends. The 5 Palestinians that are still going to be around, they're going to be saved for sure. Baby leftists are going to be a little concerned about this because they're going to think like, oh, like they're going to be a little concerned about this. But like, I just want to tell you right here, right now, we got to dispel this rumor once for all. This has always been a thing. This has always been a thing in politics. Always. Every single time there's a mainstream left-wing group, there's always one tiny group of smaller people who are nominally on the left, but spend all their time shitting on the mainstream leftists. Like, it's literally a common joke in politics. Who leftists hate more than conservatives? Other leftists. There's even a fucking protest song called Bill Bailey, the Ultimate Sectarian, which is about a guy named Bill Bailey, who is literally like a guy who is like super... he is allegedly like he's like the one true Scotsman. He's like the one true leftist. He is the one who's like, he is right about everything. Everyone else is stupid. And literally the song literally goes like, he like just lists every single prominent left-wing person in the world. Like, you know, you may be a friend of Norman Thomas. You may be a friend of Ferd LaSalle. You may get along with Emma Goldman and the First International. You may be a friend of every leftist, blah, 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 blah. You may be a comrade to all those folks, but you ain't no comrade of mine. Like, the whole joke is that he even gets to the point where he goes to heaven and meets Karl Marx and Frederick Engels, and they tell him, like, hey, bro, you're so cool. Welcome to communist land. And then he literally just tells them, like, you two are fucking stupid. You guys don't know what you're talking about. That's the point. That's the point of the thing. That people would truly believe that, like, they are the one true leftist. Now, it's not just, like, the one individual person. Like, of course, like, groups will really advocate that they are the one true leftist. Usually revolving around a figure within the party. You know, like, people in Lenin's era, like, Lenin is the one true leftist. People after Lenin were like, Stalin was the one true leftist. After he... Khrushchev was the one true leftist. Okay, I guess I don't know if that's necessarily true. Afterwards, I think like the cult of personalities kind of faded away. It's why I've always been like anti the extreme orthodoxies in regards to ideologies, because ultimately it just ends up being hero worship for their particular like person. And funnily enough, a lot of them claim that I myself do hero worship, when no, I don't. They merely just project, like, it's a lot of the big things that a lot of people do. They like to project what they believe onto you because they do the thing, so they think you're doing the thing too. They don't critically support socialist experiments like the USSR. They unironically love the USSR under Stalin, and they think that he's great and good and wonderful, and he did nothing wrong. Even the mere insinuation of attacking their mainstream, like, figure is just not available. Like, you can't do that. Meanwhile, I am perfectly content with, like, criticizing every single person that I have admired, and I'm perfectly critical of a lot. I mean, I'm very critical of a lot of literally, you could just, I literally posted, like, a video where it's, like, my political ideology, and I put, like, 25 political figures. By all means, criticize all of them, genuinely. I have, and I will. Not in this video. You could just, if you just say, if someone puts in the comment section, do the thing that you said, criticize the figures that you put in your video, I'll gladly do it. And as the left has steadily gained more power, it seems that these voices get a lot louder. And again, I've seen a lot of little baby leftists a little concerned about this. You know, like, oh boy, man, I'm seeing, like, I thought we were celebrating this thing, but then I saw a bunch of people on Twitter or whatever say this thing, and I don't know, I'm a little concerned. Which is why I'm here to tell all the baby leftists watching this video right now, stop listening to them. They're not real. Like, look at me, or listen to me. Listen to me. Go to the screen right now. Look at the image on the screen of my character. They are not real. These people do not exist. Bad Empanada does not exist in the real world. Twitter Marxists don't exist in the real world. And I don't mean in the sense like, oh, they're bots or they're paid for or whatever. I guess some of them might be, but I mean, they could be, but no. I'm saying that in the grand scheme of things, like, they are real in the sense that they are humans that are tangible. That is it. They are not a massive electoral bloc. They are not actually organizing anything in a meaningful sense. They do not exist. In the real left-wing world, in the real world of left-wing politics in America, your options are twofold. DSA or nothing. Those are your options. Like, sure, you could technically join your little book clubs, you could join your little groups, but ultimately, at the end of the day, if you want to actually do things, you either join the big book group, or you join the book groups that will remain book groups. DSA has 85,000 members nationwide. No nationwide leftist organization in the US comes close. State parties like the PFP and the Working Families Party are near the number. I think they, like, kind of teeter above it, but, like, again, like, they're mostly state parties, and because there's another thing you gotta understand. Like I mean, the Working Families Party is the only one that is actually, like, a viable party that is close to that number. Like, the Peace and Freedom Party, I don't know if they are actually, like, a viable party to an extent. Because I think at this point they mostly, like, serve as a vehicle for the PSL essentially. So, like, I mean, I guess if they are able to actually keep organizing the party, then I guess they can be viable, at least in certain circumstances. But I mean, broadly, they don't really have anything for it. Like, I mean, and another one is, like, even if they do exist and they have quote unquote numbers to back it up, they have nothing to show for it. Like, the Green Party is technically bigger than the DSA, but there is no Green Party infrastructure in the United States. 163 mayors and school board members does not a vanguard party make. The only political group in the United States that is socialist, that actually has political inroads and infrastructure to back it up, is DSA. That's just the objective truth of the matter. These people understand this. They know this. But they want to remain politically irrelevant. That's the truth. They want to remain politically irrelevant because if they remain politically irrelevant, they can spend all their time complaining and not getting anything done. The truth of the matter is, once you get into power, you actually have to do stuff. You have to actually try to actually accomplish the things you want. Meanwhile, I mean, me as I am now, I could endlessly critique everybody. I'm a tiny YouTube channel. I have no pull in the YouTube sphere. I got nothing. I can punch up all day long, and I'm not going to face any repercussions for it. I can shit on any socialist organization I want. I can shit on any socialist YouTuber I want. I can shit on anything I want. I can shit on Trump. I can shit on Hillary. I can shit on any of these. I can shit on any politician in the world. I don't care. It doesn't matter. In the great scheme of things, I am nothing. I accept that. I accept that I, as in an individuality sense, in this landscape, I am nothing. I'm able to accept that because I do not have main character syndrome like a lot of these other people. A lot of these other people literally think they are the next Stalin. They're the next Lenin. They're the next Vanguard. They're the next Che. They're the next Castro. They are the main character. They're the ones that are going to save the world. Very antithetical to the whole point of leftism. Like, leftism is literally the belief system that we all come together and then we all, like, divided we are weak, divided we are helpless. Together we are strong. We can all unite under one block, and we can then be the big one. We have the power. The people. It's the 99% versus the 1%. Meanwhile, all these people actually do basically like adhere to like the strong man theory of like the world, I guess. And again, these guys want to remain politically relevant because again, any semblance of people in the left wing getting any sort of political relevance is met with hesitancy. Like, they don't like it. And in fact, they want to spend their time to basically confirm, like, I think I've said this previously, it's like, they believe that the idea of winning is selling out your principles because they believe we're following everything right. We're doing everything we're supposed to do. And they can't even fathom the concept that maybe they're not doing things right. They're reading the book, they're following the book every single step of the way. They're saying all the right words, they're saying all the right things, they're doing all the right things, and yet despite that, they still can't get anything done. So they believe the reason why all these other people are successful is because they're betraying the cause. And as such, they have to spend all their time trying to be like, no, these guys, they're not following the rules right. We're the ones following the rules right. Even if the rules that they're following make no sense. The whole, I mean, that's one of the big things that I've seen a lot. It's a meme that I've seen a lot where it's like this left-wing like party in France having a newspaper, and then literally a tweet pointed out that like, guys, you understand that when Marx and Lenin and all these people said that the left needs their own newspapers, what they mean is that they need the left to build its own media infrastructure. Not literally that you need to make your own fucking newspaper. Because a newspaper in 2025 is toilet paper, essentially. There is no reason for a newspaper to exist in the year 2025. The point, like, in a modern, if Marx were alive, he would say, like, get on TikTok, get on YouTube, get on, like, whatever, build your own media platforms. But these guys don't want to do that. They want to make their newspaper so that only the people that they like, the only people that they believe are good enough, get to be invited in the club. And it's the same thing in a lot of other sense. They want to be able to shit on AOC and call her and lie about her about us being a Zionist sellout. They want to do that so that they can get like, oh, we got our special club. We got our special club. Our special club is special. Which is why they'll regurgitate the same lie again and again, even if it truly does not qualify. Because like that's another thing I've seen. I mean, just accepting that, like, just believe that every single one of these people are the exact same is a bit of a problem. And Badapana is of course an example of this. The day that Zohar Mamdani got elected, Badapana posted a video basically saying like, yeah, Zohar Mamdani is gonna betray you all. So it's like, yeah, before he even got elected, and not even acknowledging the massive differences between him and AOC on regards to his policies, like. Ignoring all of that, like, I mean, one, even like saying AOC is a Zionist is already like going on a bad leg, but then also implying that Zohar Mamdani is on the same level of AOC or worse than AOC is just, what are you even babbling about? People going around saying like, oh, this guy who has leaked messages talking about how he wants to murder Nazis with his bare hands is actually secretly a Nazi who will become far right once he gets elected, just like Fetterman. All you guys are doing is making yourselves more isolated from the rest of the left. And again, that's what you want. You want to be able to be in your little clique. You don't want to actually be politically relevant. Because a world where Badapana is politically relevant is a world where he cannot sit down and make his fucking video essays. And the thing is, these people are capable of actually having a rational, coherent thought. Because one of the groups that I used to put in this crowd has actually fully realized at this point, maybe this is actually not a good idea to actually be viable politically. The Party of Socialism Liberation, like, I literally at one point used to be like, the Party of Socialism Liberation were the group that I would just basically used to represent this faction of the left, because that's really what they were. But in the most recent times, they're really just like, yeah, hold on, maybe this isn't working. And they basically spent their time basically, I mean, the most recent thing I saw is like they posted like a couple of tweets that were literally just pro Zohar Mamdani, literally essentially saying like, hey, if you guys like Zohar Mamdani, you might like what we're offering. You know, like kind of the thing that you're supposed to do in any sort of political sense in left-wing circles. You know, if you think that Zohar's not radical enough, maybe build their momentum off of him and then go, hey, let's go further. But that unfortunately might require you to acknowledge that you're not the main character. And, well, you guys can't have that. You are merely one voice among thousands, nay, among millions. You are just one voice. And that's a fact. I am just one voice. Me What I say means just as much as anyone else. You can watch this video right now and then go, this guy's fucking stupid, and click away. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. My voice will probably be drowned out by other people anyways, people who are much larger than me. I acknowledge that. Maybe my voice will get louder. Maybe I'll be able to be more viable. Maybe, maybe not. Doesn't matter. I acknowledge that I am merely just one voice among thousands on the political left. It might take a little bit of time, it might take a little bit of effort, but eventually I might be able to get to the point where I can make it so that the entire online left is fully on board the copyleft movement. Maybe one day, but probably not. I can't go, hey, since everyone else on the left doesn't agree with me on copyright, you know what? I'm going to say that the rest of the left is fucking cringe and gay and stupid and evil and gross, and they're all fake lefties. And I'm actually going to do everything in my power to make sure that everyone else, I'm going to sit here and bitch and moan about all the times that these guys don't talk about the copyright issue and talk about copyleft. I can't do that. That's stupid. That would be stupid. And in politics in general, but also again on the political left, again, we're on the political left. We're already in the losing battle. The world is a capitalist hellhole. We are already in the losing battle. All of the money and all the institutional power is fighting against us. We already have an uphill battle that is going to unequivocally be a hard fight. It'll take a hell of a lot more time for me to actually build that infrastructure movement by going against every single other left-wing creator that is bigger than me. And then also, when I was like, well, once I get there, then I'll be able to take down the right-wingers. Like, meanwhile, while we sit here bickering amongst ourselves, the Elon Musk is currently murdering and raping the planet. You know, just a big thing, hypothetically. I'm just saying, maybe we got bigger fish to fry than worrying about whether or not this particular left-wing YouTuber is actually correct 100% of the time. And yeah, that's another thing. In the YouTube sphere, in the left-wing content creator sphere, you have to suck things up. Like, in every single word, you have to suck things up. If you don't like DSA, suck it up. Unfortunately, DSA is the movement. DSA is the movement. Tough pill to swallow. You don't like it? Join DSA, make them different. I don't know what to tell you. There is no world where you were able to build your small political parties like the PSL or Socialist Equality Party or the Socialist Workers Party. You can't build those small parties and then turn them viable in the amount of time that we need to actually become like actual good policies. We don't have the time for that. Much the same way, we don't have the time for me to sit there and be like, oh, I'll be able to surpass Hassan Piker one day, and then only afterwards I'll be able to use my platform to organize all this stuff. Like, no, it's better to just do shit now. And yes, again, I keep saying tough pill to swallow because this is one part of that is actually one element of the tough pill to swallow. Like, I mean, in this sense, I gotta say it, just point blank. I gotta say it right here and now. All you guys are probably, like, some of you guys probably aren't gonna like it, but I just gotta say it. I do not like Hassan Piker. I do not. I have been critical of him in the past, and I don't like him. I don't like it. I mean, in every sense of the word, I just don't like it. I don't like the fact that the biggest left-wing creator is like some trust fund kid. I don't like the fact that Hassan Piker has done some really shady things in regards to like editing, like his editors and not paying his editors adequately. And generally, I just don't like the type of content that he makes and how I just don't really like his content. And I have like the slightest concerns about like how that would necessarily trickle down to like the broader left. But I have to suck it up. Like, he's the number one content creator on the left. And he probably represents a good majority of what the left wing broadly likes and wants. I can either sit here and cry about it, or just move past it and then maybe use it as a stepping stone for further stuff. You know, instead of being like, Hassan Piker reacted to my video and didn't give me credit. I'm gonna copyright strike him and I'm gonna try to sue. No, just accept it. Accept that it happened, and then maybe use that time to be like, hey, Hassan people who have come to my channel now, hey, here's some things that I think are better for you than just stuff that Hassan Piker says or whatever. And again, in the actual real world of politics, it's DSA or nothing. And the thing is, we've seen these strategies in the past. Like, this is the thing. Like, I don't like. Like, I mean, like, if this is like, again, like new thing, like we all just figured this out today, then there'd be one thing. But the problem is, this isn't new. This is, again, as I said before, this has always been a thing on the political left. And in the United States, like in the American Socialist movement in particular, we've seen these strategies play out time and time again. And clearly, one works better than the other. I'll use 3 examples. one of a party that literally went completely in one direction, one party that broadly went in another direction, and then one party that kind of dabbled in both. First, we'll start off with the Socialist Party of America, the one that broadly dabbled in like a broad multi-tendency left-wing group. They broadly had an all-in-the-above strategy in regards to like, electoralism and also like union activism. They had like a somewhat broad socialist ideological tent. They had like broad social democrats, and they also had like some more hardline socialists in various eras of the party. And it's broadly considered one of the most prevalent socialist groups in America, basically being very completely viable until they started actually letting the sectarianism they built sadly start dividing the party to become a bit more of a problem. Then, on the other end, we have the Socialist Labor Party, the first political party of America that was socialist, and the party that basically built the strategy of, sectarianism and wanting to divide the left. And like, they thought Debs was a dirty reformist, and that the international workers of the world were a bunch of stinky anarchists, and that they were the true socialists. And sure enough, the party basically just faded into obscurity over its entire lifespan. Like, literally, they were draining members basically the entire time they existed. Sure, they got to feel like they were the purest boys in the world, but didn't really work out so well for them electorally. Didn't win a single seat ever. Basically, again, they basically just drained membership that kind of like just siphoned themselves off to all the other left-wing groups in America. And yeah, they basically quietly faded away into obscurity over the course of like 70 years or whatever. Not 70 years, however long they existed. They existed for a pretty long time. They basically formally dissolved in like 2008, 2011, but they had basically been on the rapid decline ever since before then. But the party that probably is kind of like most well known for like their like strategies and this kind of front were the Communist Party of the 1930s via the Popular Front of Earl Browder. Earl Browder literally just like, you need to understand just truly how much, like, I think really this, doing research for the Communist Party video and seeing that full on kind of like fully solidified, like, yeah, this is a strategy that just works. The fact that the Communist Party was able to do that is just insane. Like, look, this is really what happened. Earl Browder went to the communists of his party and just said, look, guys, I know FDR is a dirty capitalist. I know that. None of us have to pretend that the Democratic Party is anything more than a tool of the corporate interests, that they are a tool of capitalism, that they are all capitalists heart and heart. We don't have to pretend that they're anything else. But, hear me out. They're doing this thing called the New Deal. And now this New Deal thing, again, it's not that good. They're doing some fine things, they're strengthening labor rights, they're like, pushing for like, better pay to workers or whatever. It's not the best, again, of course we want, communism, but like, broadly. It's pretty good, right? Yeah, you with me? You with me, guys? Yeah, this is pretty good. Yeah. It's better than nothing, right? Am I right, guys? But, hear me out. What if we go to these guys, join their campaign staff, talk with them, organize rallies with them, broadly help them out, and then maybe we can start introducing some of our ideas to them, and maybe they start pushing further. To people like Bannock and Nada, like, that never works. It worked, literally. Jerry O'Connell and Hugh DeLacy were two Communist Party members who got elected to Congress. And that was another, like, they were elected to Congress as Democrats. John Bernard would be elected under the Farm Labor Party because in Minnesota, that was the opposition party. The Communist Party was literally being invited to the table. They were being invited to hold congressional hearings. They were literally being prominent in the administrations. Literally, there was a Communist Party sponsored bill that was being floated in the United States House and Senate during the 1930s. And party membership of the Communist Party rose to around 70,000 members, a little under what DSA has now. The Communist Party got so prevalent and so powerful that the next 10 years of the US were spent dismantling every single element of inroads they had. And part of that is also because Stalin called up the Communist Party of America and said, yeah, guys, sorry, we can't do that. You guys gotta say the FDR is a social fascist, and then you also gotta stop being that now. And sure enough, that ended up happening. That same social fascism BS being exactly what was exactly the MO of the German Communist Party, who refused to work with the Social Democrats on the same merits of like, oh, these guys aren't as pure as we are. And yeah, I'm pretty sure things went excellent down there in Germany at that time. Nothing bad happened at all. No. Nothing remotely bad happened after that. Nah. It was totally fine when the German communists literally said that you should ignore the Nazis and focus on the Social Democrats. That is totally, like, genuinely, go fuck yourself if you think that it's an actual legitimately fucking good strategy, you fucking idiot. And all that is why I believe we need another Popular Front. Like, just fully. We in the United States need another Popular Front. A massive coalition of people who are broadly left of center that push for massive political change in all of their respective fields. And yeah, the problem is, like, we're not all going to be on the same page. That's a fact. We all got to acknowledge that. The notion that one day every single person on the left is finally going to become a Marxist-Leninist, or that one day every person on the left is finally going to become a Posadist, or that one day everyone on the left is going to become a Democratic Socialist. The idea that any of that is going to happen is just fucking stupid. You just have to stop that. That's not happening. That's never happening. Never. I'm almost tempted to do that to spite you, that I'll never join your ideology. You know as much as I do, we're all too fucking stubborn to do that. So we can all acknowledge that. We're not all going to be communists. We're not all going to be socialists. We're not all going to be progressives. We're not all going to be all that. We're not going to be the exact same ideology. And it's totally fine. We can debate, discuss, maybe we might change some of our minds here and there. We might come to a broader consensus, we'll probably reach across the aisle and get things done. But the fact of the matter is, we're not going to do that. But it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we have to acknowledge this. Ultimately, no matter if I am the exact same ideology as fucking, I don't know, oh, me and this person is a Marxist, and I'm actually a libertarian Marxist. It doesn't matter. Fuck that, oh, I'm a libertarian Marxist, I'm a Marxist. Fuck that. Acknowledge this. You agree on basically all this. You agree on all these things, so why don't you focus on fixing these things first, and then we can start doing our petty little squabbles. What should the strategy of this Popular Front be? Everything. All the above. Everything. Nothing is off the table. Democratic Party electoralism? Sure. Occasional independent bids? Absolutely. Maybe we have the idea of building an inroad to a further independent electoral body down the line. Whatever. Organizing unions? Absolutely. Protesting in the streets? Yes. Hashtag activism? Absolutely. Online other activism video essays or whatever. Do all that. Everything. I've always believed that. Everything. We have to do everything. Not everybody's going to be an activist in the streets, and that's fine. Acknowledge that fact. But if you're hey, this person is really good at phone banking, maybe call up all the people in the area and then go, hey, there's going to be this strike going on. Just in case. Not everybody is cut out to be in elected office. Acknowledge that. Find the guy who is. Find the guy who's willing to sit there in the boring meetings for 5 hours and 10 hours a day and do that. Find that guy, put him in the spot, and then maybe he'll be able to win, and we can actually get one who's on our side, get a pencil pusher. Again, broadly, we're not all going to be the exact same, and that's fine. That's the point of solidarity. We all are together. We all work together. Not every single person is the same. We're all coming together. All of us from all these different factions are coming together. But also, I might hear you wondering, what are the principles that we should unite under for this Popular Front? Well, if we're actually serious, what we would do is that we all hold a massive convention where we'd all debate on the ideas and then come up with a broadly 5 to 10 point pledge that gives, and there's another thing you gotta do that about that. You have to give one that gives, because I believe that socialism is truly the end-all be-all. And I also know that not everybody who joins this coalition will be a socialist. But the idea is, we gotta push it, so we gotta make sure that those guys do end up becoming socialists. Because I really do believe that you have to truly be a socialist to actually be able to change the system that truly exists. But we can do that by saying and doing, by making our pledges stuff that gives off socialist vibes, but also vague enough so that not only we can get people like progressives or maybe even like liberals if they're daring, but also maybe like a guy who literally is just a complete normie who isn't involved in politics at all, who barely understands politics at all, but broadly goes like, these things actually don't sound like a bad idea, because as we all know, like the American people, American people like broadly like, social, like it's like that fucking like meme from like Happy Roadkill where it's like there's a cat who's a communist and he's like, don't you want to make it so that you are no longer a part of the capitalist slave system? And the workers like, yeah, you know what, I do agree with that. Well, what if there's an ideology that's like that? Well, really, what is it? It's called happy workerism. Oh, really? Tell me more. Again, stuff that kind of broadly gives off the idea of socialism, but again, can be vague enough that, like, if you're a normie guy, you can go, hey, this doesn't sound like that bad of an idea, to be honest. And, I mean, again, like I said, like, if we're serious, we'd all hold this debate, we'd all hold this discussion, we'd get the broadly 5 to 10 point platform. But I think broadly, I know what the top 10 things are probably gonna be. Like, I think we all broadly know what they're gonna be. Okay, Medicare for all, or like some form of like universal healthcare model, Green New Deal, something like that, like environmentalism to some extent, like protecting the planet, anti-war, maybe like giving it an explicit like anti-genocide or whatever, like broadly, like, just like a general acknowledgement of like, we believe that foreign policy should be based on peace or like anti-imperialism or whatever. Get money out of politics, which gives off the vibe like, we'll get to that in a bit. Like, get money out of politics, reform the electoral process, protect free speech, immigration reform, protecting the workers, LGBTQ rights, and make America affordable. Like, those are the things that would probably reach the top of the list. And these are the things that, again, like, if you're a broadly left or center person, again, I think if I said this to a liberal, I mean, okay, maybe not a liberal, but like, maybe like a progressive liberal, I think broadly, if I said like something like this, or like, I guess I have to like dumb it down a little bit more, like just maybe say like protecting the environment and like, like maybe not explicitly name drop Medicare for all and Green New Deal, but like maybe like something like broadly, I like that. But like, say that stuff, and then they go like, oh, that's pretty good. But then, when they're in the group, when they're in the crowd, we can go, but hey, let's talk a little bit about these issue by issue. What's one of the major problems with our healthcare system? That it's a for-profit system. Well, currently, in the current system, we don't have a lot of environmental regulations, and it's primarily because we have a lot of like environmental like issues, and well, like the environmental lobby is doing a lot of pretty big stuff in regards to a lot of this stuff, and one of the major reasons why a lot of this bad environmental stuff is around is because it's way more profitable for them. The war is kind of like done directly by military-industrial complex, so literally people who profit directly from the wars. And one of the main reasons why a lot of this stuff happens is because of money in politics. Money in politics, like people who are paying, like they literally people who are paying, and like the way like we have the profit system, and literally money in politics. We don't have a lot of like infrastructure for like broader parties outside of the two-party system, so maybe we should like reform the electoral system to allow for more voices to be heard. Free speech is currently under attack, and well, maybe that one might not be directly tied to capitalism. Immigration reform, there's currently like a large incentive for like private prison companies to, do all this shady stuff in regards to immigration. The workers get notoriously screwed by rich and powerful people, and one of the main reasons why is because, again, ultimately at the end of the day, it's better for them to screw over their workers. LGBTQ rights are basically dictated currently by who has more money to claim like power or whatever. Like rainbow capitalism was a thing that in the past, and now all of a sudden all these companies don't give a shit about you. Interesting. They only wanted your money. And making America affordable, these companies get to literally pick and choose how they choose the market. All based on like the invisible hand. You can basically tie most of these issues to capitalism as the root problem. And then also point out how broadly the current modern day Republican and Democratic parties have not solved these issues despite all their posturing. Dems claim they want money out of politics, yet they let AIPAC spend like $12 million in 2 seats last election. Republicans, you ran on affordability, and yet you gave the rich a tax cut while the egg prices continue to go up. And that, hey, these guys ain't doing shit. Maybe we can. Actually, no. Scratch maybe. We can. Say we can do it. There is one more thing about the Popular Front that I don't know necessarily if it's going to be that popular among us, but it's got to be. We got to do it because it's one of the main reasons why the previous Popular Front worked. And it's that the left has got to reclaim patriotism. I know you guys are a little bit like, oh no, click off. I know a lot of you guys are like getting really mad, but like literally, the previous Popular Front did it. And one of the last major left-wing like movements in America that actually was prominent, that actually managed to do things, was the Vietnam War protesters. And they were also super patriotic. Like, I mean, it's actually so weird. Like, they were smeared all the time in the media. It's like, oh, they're anti-American, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, the same old shit that they say about every single left-wing movement. But, like, I listened to Vietnam War protester songs, and genuinely, it's sad to hear them because their songs are literally about how much they loved America. The whole reason why they were protesting was purely because they loved America. Like literally one of the songs for Eugene McCarthy's presidential bid was literally, if you love your country and the things for which it stands, vote for Eugene McCarthy and bring peace to this, our land. This land is your land is literally like a prominent patriotic song in America. And literally, it's a song about how literally, it's like literally a song that's like, I love this country so much, and it's a song by a socialist. There's a Phil Oakes song that I literally listen to a lot now, and it's literally, the chorus of the song is, here is a land full of power and glory, beauty that words cannot recall. For her power shall rest the strength of her freedom, glory shall rest on us all. Like, literally, listening to these songs are actually kind of depressing. It's like, these were people who were actually sold a bill of goods of America, and they were, like, experiencing it themselves. Like, we were sold a bill of goods, and it didn't work. We're seeing a major thing that's making us go like, the bill of goods we were sold isn't cutting out. So now we're actually going to do something to try and bring back this bill of goods that we were promised. And they actually had bills of goods to actually use to justify. A lot of these kids were born in the fucking, like, immediate aftermath of, like, I guess World War II, I think? I don't know. I have to look into their individual ages. But, like, you got a point. These are people who, like, either experienced it directly or, like, were able to, like, have family members that experienced the Great Depression and how they were able to bounce back from the worst fucking time in American history. And then, magically, they're being brought into an era where it's like, oh shit, things are getting worse. And around the world, a lot of left movements that are popular are extremely nationalistic. Chavismo, like basically all the socialist of the 21st century movements, a lot of them are extremely nationalistic. But they have to, of course, focus on, like, you know, the specific elements of the nationalism that are left-wing. And to some, it's like, well, that's impossible. But, like, no, it's actually not impossible. But, like, you gotta do a little bit of a, it's not necessarily, like, historical revisionism per se. I mean, because, like, the thing is, like, the right does, like, patriotism or whatever, and they're just flat-out historical revisionists. You actually, some of it, you actually just can explicitly, like, do it through actual, literal, like, this is the funny thing. Like, I mean, the fact of the matter is, the people on the left, they know more about this country, they know more about these laws, they know more about all the laws and all the rules and all the traditions of this country and the history of this country, way more than any single fucking bumfuck redneck conservative does ever. That's fact. And we can use those traditions to explicitly show fully our side being right. Like during the immigration debates. Literally, we can just point out the fact that, no, this member of Congress who wrote the bill, who wrote this law, explicitly said that no, he explicitly fought for the amendment in the Constitution so that immigrants' children can become citizens of the United States. That is a fact. When reactionaries do the whole, like, why you want to do Indigenous Peoples Day? It's Columbus Day. Bring up the fact that Columbus Day was literally a DEI holiday. Literally, it was a DEI holiday. Christopher Columbus Day in America was literally created specifically to help the Italian-American population stop facing persecution. And you go, hey, in continuing with the tradition of Columbus Day, we're going to do Indigenous Peoples Day specifically to help a downtrodden people face, get help. Also, when they do the lie, they think like, oh, this thing is socialism. This thing is socialism. If it's a good thing, take credit for it. I don't fucking care. Obamacare socialism. Sure, whatever. It's not, but sure, whatever. Wow. this policy that gives like 33 million more 30 million more Americans healthcare. Wow. Oh no, don't call it socialist. Don't make people like this idea. And in a more actual sense, you could literally just say, hey, FDR, LBJ, Lincoln, all those figures are kind of like figures that can be used to espouse like more left-wing viewpoints. Like literally bring up the fact that Lincoln was friends with Karl Marx. Or how the anti-slavery movement in the United States was kind of started by the proto-socialists. You could do that. That's a true thing. That's a fact. Like, say, these guys did good, but I think we could go further. I think we could do better. We could bring up the fact that there are a lot of U.S. presidents like Teddy Roosevelt, Harry Truman, and John F. Kennedy that all explicitly wanted universal health care. And let's bring that up constantly. Say, hey, Republicans, when Republicans is like, oh, I love Teddy Roosevelt, they go, hey guys, buddy, he was like a huge environmentalist. So let's do environmentalism. Let's do a Green New Deal. Let's fix this. And we could also just flat out bring up the socialist tradition of America. Most of the unions that fought for the weekend were red unions. Bring that up. Thank socialists for this. Bring up the fact that a socialist was the one who brought up the idea of having a Labor Day. Bring up the fact that there are a lot of socialists elected to Congress, and a lot of them were pretty good. Bring up the fact that the guy who was almost universally regarded as the greatest mayor in American history, Fiorello LaGuardia, was a socialist. In fact, we're literally at the point where we can just flat out steal like patriotism and from conservatives. We can. Like conservatives will be like, blah 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 America. It's like, you're Israel first. Fuck you. We're America first. Fuck you. You're Israel first. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Like go kids gloves off. I don't fucking care. Like no. These guys are fucking cucks for Israel. Say that. Just say it. Just say it. Say we're the ones who actually want America to be affordable. We're the ones fighting for America to actually like focus on our own people. We're the ones doing that. You guys are the ones that want to focus on Israel. You guys are the ones who want to do that. We actually want to help Americans, get jobs. We're the ones who want to do that. You guys are the ones that want to sit there and bitch and moan about I don't know, whatever the fuck you want. But certainly not to help the American people. And stuff like this has worked. Like our neighbors in the South, Mexico, literally did this exact same thing. They literally did that. They bring up the legacies of past presidents that, even if they weren't necessarily socialists, were socialistic, and they could use that as a stepping stone to further left-wing ideologies. Push for left-wing policies that are vague enough that you can get some non-lefties to join the group, even to the point where a lot of people actually do try to claim that AMLO is right-wing, and it's just funny. And just flat out call your enemies for what they are. Like Mexico, like AMLO and Claudia Sheinbaum, they don't call their candidates, but they don't call their opposition by their names. They call them just tools for the establishment. They call them the PRIAN. They call them tools for the corporate elites. That's what they do. They don't do anything. They don't dilly-dally around it. They just call them out for what they are. And I get it. A lot of it is not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. This is just broadly, of course, not going to be easy. Again, first of all, some of it is not easy in the sense that it's just actually not easy. We're already in an uphill battle. And also in the sense that some of you might be a little I don't know. Because the Vietnam protesters had an America to be proud of. Whereas a lot of people in the modern day, we haven't seen that America. But that's the point. We've never seen the America that all these people keep complaining about. That the land of opportunity, blah, 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 blah. We haven't seen that. And even if we do research, we can't find it. But that's why we need to build it. Not to reclaim a past that may or may not have existed, but to make a future that we can only imagine. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and click the bell to notify when a future video comes out. And if you want more content from me, consider supporting me on Patreon.